Ahoy, everybody. This is our lesson for Wednesday, November 3rd, and it's compare and order fractions and decimals and percents. So our warm-up today is about the cost of a large milkshake is 1.4 times the cost of a medium milkshake. Express 1.4 as a percent. So this is the thing. If I have 1.4 as the number I need to change to a percent, I still have to follow my decimal rules to go to percentages and multiply times 100. When I do that, I move my decimal place over 2 spots to the right. And there's nothing in that second bump there. So I have to be very smart and fill in a 0 into that spot for the place value. When I'm all said and done, the decimal still live behind the 0. So I could rewrite that as 140%. All right, guys, so to start our notes for today, we are going to find the equivalent representation of 1/3 using the table, 10 by 10 grid, and percent bar below. So I'm going to change 1/3 to a decimal. There's 2 ways to do that. The first way is you should know what 1/3 is as a decimal. It's 0.333 repeating forever and ever. The second thing you can do if you forgot to do that, you could simply just do top number goes in, bottom goes out, and you could divide out, and you would end up getting 3 repeating forever. Okay, so we know that this decimal should be 0.333 repeating. I like to show it like this because I know I'm going to change it to percent, so I know that when I multiply times 100 with that decimal, that I'm going to move that decimal place over to the right 2 spots. Being able to see it with 3 decimal places there is very helpful, so that way I can see that it's supposed to be 33.3 repeating percent. Some other kids earlier today asked Mr. C, could I write it like this, 33 1/3%? And the answer is absolutely. I prefer to keep it in the decimal form with the repeating sign because I've already converted that. I don't like doing another reconversion at the end, but you're more than welcome to do that because that 1/3 in blue, that fraction 1/3 is the same as the decimal 0.3 and 0.4 right above it. So for the 10 by 10 grid model, this one is a little bit different than what we're used to because of that decimal at the end. I can do 3 10 rods for 30. I can do 3 for the 33. And now this repeated 3, the 0.3 or the 1/3, I'm going to put it in a different color so you can see it. It's just one little section of the next block. We're going to color in 1/3 of that last block. It's very important that we're precise with that shading, so I want to make sure that it's very clearly visible for you to see. Can you do that right now if you haven't already? And then the last thing is our percent bar model. This is pretty simple to go through. 0 at the bottom and 100 at the top. I always like to show where 50% is, just so it's a nice little checkpoint for me. I know that I'm at 33 1/3. This is actually going to just be if I segmented it into 3 equal pieces like so. It's going to be right here at this first green line that I did and got it. Green lines here. So that's my 33 1/3%. And I'm just going to go back to the bottom where 0 is, and I'm just going to throw it. Okay. The second section I did up there with that other dotted green line, that one's showing the checkpoint 66 2/3%. Okay, so I just segmented that bar into 3 equal pieces. Okay, does that make sense, guys? Okay, cool. So let's take a look at the notes section right below. It says notes. Put the following in order from least to greatest. So we're going to take the skill of converting those things, and then we'll order it least to greatest. So guys, I have a little life hack for you right here. I'm going to say most of the time, the best way to do this is to convert everything to the decimal form. Okay, the fraction form is great, but then we have to find common denominators to compare. The percent form is good too, but sometimes it gets confusing when we have decimals and percents. And just depending on which one we have more of would be the easier way to compare. All right, so what I want to do here is I want to look at all of these numbers. 92%, 0.86, 3/5, 47%, and 14/25. And I want to convert them to the same form. I'm going to do decimals here. Okay. In my list below, I see the 0.86. I'm just going to rewrite that as 0.86. I'm going to choose to go to the decimal form. So that one's already done for me. Lucky us. So now let's change those percents. Those are very easy to change. We have 92%, which would be 0.92. Do you agree? Yeah. And then we have 47%, which would be 0.47. Okay, so look at that. Already we've been able to change stuff quickly and easily to the decimal. Now it's these pesky fractions. Okay, I could sit and do the long division out if I wanted to, or if I was really clever, I can look at those denominators and see if I can get those to a 10 or 100. So let's change that 3/5. If I remember that I could take something times 5 to get 100, then I could change this to a fraction over 100, and it becomes very, very easy to change this to a decimal. So if I take 5 times 20, I'll get 100. So I'll do the same times the 3. 3 times 20 is going to leave me with 60 over 100. And now that I have it over 100, that's very easy to change into a decimal, isn't it? So I can change that to be 0.60 or just 0.6. I like putting the extra 0 on there because my other numbers over here have 2 digits behind the decimal. So I'd like to just keep it consistent. Then it makes it easier to see. The last one is 14/25. Let's try to get this bad boy to something over 100. If I take 25 times 4, I'll get to 100. So if I do 14 times 4, I'll get the same thing. 14 times 4 is going to be 56. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, cool. Just want to make sure. And then we can do 56 over 100 very easily to decimal form. And we would have 0.56. So my problem now that I've done all that work says, let's order these from least to greatest. Very important that we know what the question's asking us to do. Least to greatest. So the littlest one has to go first, then the next littlest, then the third littlest. In this case, it's right in the middle. Then we've got second biggest, and then we've got the next biggest one. So here we go. We're almost ready to be done with this problem. I do need to tell you right now, however, we cannot put it in these converted numbers that we've done off to the side. We need to report these numbers in the way that they were presented to us above. So the way that the first number was presented to us is 0.47. It was reported to us as 47%, right? Yeah. So I need to write down 47% as the least. Does that make sense, guys? Okay, good. Next, I've got number 2. Number 2 is 0.56, but that's not how it was presented to us, was it? No, it's 14/25. That's next in the list. The third one in the list is 0.60, but that's not what we were given it to. We were given it to us as 3/5, so we need to write 3/5 down next. Then, fourth is 0.86. That is just the same because that's how it was given to us. And then last is 0.92, and that's supposed to be 92%. Okay, so guys, I want you to try the partner practice with your friends at your table. If you're watching this at home, I want you to give this a shot. We'll go over some of these answers in a little bit, and best of luck. If you're watching the video, you can pause here and then we'll go over as soon as you push play again. Okay, so this problem asks us to go from greatest to least. So we've got to be very careful. Again, I think the best thing for us to do is convert these quickly to decimals. 5% as a decimal is 0.05. Be very careful. Some kids put 0.5, and that's wrong. That's 50%. This is 7 over 100, so as a decimal, it would be a 7 in the 100th place. This is just completely left alone. 3/4 we know is a benchmark fraction and decimal. That's 0.75. 24% is 0.24 as a decimal. And then 3.5 is actually the trickiest one. I have to multiply times 100, which means I move that decimal over 2 spots to the right. This number, oh, that's as a percent. Oh, sorry. Wait, I'm an idiot. Sorry. Scratch that. That was wrong. This just stays 3.50. It's already written as decimal. Okay, so greatest to least. It's very clear to see which one's got to go first. It's the biggest one. Then the second biggest one is going to be this one. Third biggest is 0.24. Fourth biggest is 0.07. Fifth biggest is 0.05. And then the littlest would be last, would be 0.03. So now, I just go from greatest to least. I've already had my order over here, and I just report the way it was presented to me. So 3.5 is going to be first. Second is 0.75. That should be really 3/4. Then third is 0.24, which is 24%. Four is 0.07, which was reported originally as 7 over 100. Then we're going to do 0.05, which is 5%. And then I'll write this in yellow so we can see it on the brown. The last one is 0.03. Okay? So guys, now it starts to get a little more difficult as we go through the next couple of questions. On this question, it says all the students who voted for their favorite ice cream, 1/2 chose chocolate and 2/5 chose vanilla. So I know this already, that when I add those two together, I'm not going to get 5 over 5, right? So there's going to be something missing. We need to find the missing percentage, because that missing percentage out of 100 is everybody else that voted for something other than vanilla or chocolate, like strawberry or cookies and cream, or even like mint chocolate chip or root beer flavored ice cream. There's a root beer flavored ice cream where I grew up, that's really good. But, corn? No, it was root beer flavored, like, you know, like the soda pop. Okay, anyways, back to the problem. Take a look. We've got 1/2 chose chocolate and 2/5 chose vanilla. So 1/2 that chose chocolate, of course, that's yellow. 1/2 that chose chocolate, we could rewrite that as 5 over 10. So the decimal would be 0.5. Percent would be 50%. The 2/5 I could write as 4 over 10. That helps me make the decimal in 0.4, 4 in the 10th place. And then this decimal would be 40%. So if I'm thinking about all of the people I asked, that has to be 100%. If I add 40 and 50% together, I end up getting 90%. So we're missing how many percent? Yeah, we're missing 10% of the people that we asked, meaning that that 10% is the people not picking vanilla or chocolate. Does that make sense? Okay, the next ones are fairly simple. The science project, the display is worth 0.15 in the total grade. What is the percent that's equivalent to 0.15? So I'm actually going to skip the fraction part because that's not necessary information. I know that if I multiply the decimal times 100, I move it over 2 places to the right, and that'll get me to my percentage, and that should be 15%. Okay, so I'll rewrite my answer as it represents 15%. The weather report, spam, or weather report. Anyway, that's not what this question's about. The weather report says there is an 85% chance it will be very hot tomorrow. What fraction is equivalent to 85%? So I'm going to start with my percent as 85%. I know that percentages are parts per hundred. So all I have to do is take my percentage of 85 and stick it over 100. I can bypass the decimal step if I want to. Okay, so my answer that I should be reporting is 85 over 100. It says, which of the following is not equivalent to 40%? So guys, this is actually very easy to take care of. If we just change all of these to decimals, it's very clear to see immediately what to do. Okay, so this 2/5 is the same as 4 over 10, which is 0.4. B is already at 0.4. Okay, D is 4 over 10, which we've already established is 0.4. And now the last real thing that's a question mark here is 40 over 1,000. If I reduce that by dividing by 10, I could end up getting 4 over 100. Well, 4 over 100 as a decimal is 0.04. So this one is very different than the other ones. So C is the one that is not equivalent. Okay? C as in Mr. C. Okay, the last one says, when asked to choose their favorite sport, 27% of U.S. adults who follow sports selected professional football. What decimal is equivalent to 27%? So I'll start with my percent, 27%. And guys, this is different. I have to divide by 100 in this case, which means I'll move my decimal place 2 over to the left. I'm doing backwards to get back to the decimal, which makes sense, right? So this is really going to be a decimal of 0.27. I don't really need to go back to the fraction. That's not important to help us get our answer. If for whatever reason you struggle with this moving decimal thing, you could always take 27% over 100. And now that you have this fraction, it's very comfortable to see 27 over 100 is 0.27. Okay? Either way works for me. Whichever works for you the best is what I want you to do. Okay? Boys and girls, on the next page there is 2 pages of homework that I'd like you to try, and we'll go over this tomorrow. If you're watching online, thanks for watching, and we will see you later. Bye.